and welcome back to Story Stash. I'm your host Duncan, and these are some of my stories I've written. Today I'm reading from my book Ghost Whisperer, and this is chapter 15. So let's get started. Chapter 15. Next morning, Ed woke up in his apartment. He showered, dressed, and got himself a pot of coffee. After last night, Ed was functioning slower than usual. He drove to work and pulled up outside Disneytech. "Hey Ed, you look like crap," said Blake, his co-worker. Blake was standing outside the building. "I had a rough night." They entered the building together, swiping their ID badges at the door. "Hey, are you up for lunch out? There's a restaurant I'm wanting to try," said Blake. "Sure, if you're driving there." "No worries." Ed made it to his cubicle and turned on his computer. Soon he was deep in software bug fixes. Later, Ed called his sister. He wanted a safe place for the money in his closet. "Hey bro, what's up?" "I plan to get a safe deposit box at the bank. I'd like you to have a key in case something happens to me," he said. "Okay. We can visit the bank together to set it up. We'll have to provide signatures." "Next week works best for me. Not too early, though." "Understood. I'll call you when I have a time set up." Ed hung up the call and continued his work. Around noon, Blake called over the cubicle wall. "Ed, time for lunch." "Sure." Ed locked the screen on his computer and put on his jacket. They left the building and climbed inside Blake's car. Blake drove while Ed rested his eyes. Sooner than Ed expected, Blake pulled up outside a Haitian restaurant. "That's the restaurant," said Blake. They exited the car and entered the restaurant. The inside was busy, with several people eating food. "The food smells amazing," said Blake. "Agreed." The server seated them at a table. They both studied the menus. "I'll try the griot," said Blake. The server made a note in her notepad. "What's griot?" asked Ed. "It's fried pork." "Can I get the Haitian beef stew, please?" The server left to place their order. Ed studied the decor. Soon their food arrived. Ed raised a spoonful of stew to his mouth when he heard something. "Ed, is this a bad time?" asked Connor. The ghost was floating next to their table. Ed dropped his spoon and coughed. "Are you okay?" asked Blake. "I just dropped my spoon. What's that outside the window?" Blake looked. Ed gestured at Connor to shoo him away. Connor disappeared. Suddenly a woman at a nearby table jumped up. She raised her hands above her head and cried out, "Ewa!" Ed and Blake looked at the woman, whose cry disturbed everyone in the restaurant. Neither knew what she meant. "There was an Ewa right inside this restaurant, and he shooed it away." She pointed directly at Ed. Ed shrugged and picked up his spoon, intending to return to his Haitian beef stew. "Are you being ungan?" She stood in front of his table, confronting Ed. "No, I just came for lunch," said Ed. "But you saw the Ewa. It came to you." "You're mistaken. I'm here for lunch, nothing else." She looked around the room, perhaps seeking support. Several diners nodded and raised their hands like a frenzied prayer gathering. "This is getting weird." Ed waved the server over. "I don't understand what's going on here. We only came in for lunch." "She's Mambo, a priestess. She thinks you talk with spirits," said the server. "Could you pack our meals to go? I'm sorry for causing a disruption." The server looked curiously at Ed as she packed their meals. Soon Ed paid the bill and they left. "That was weird," said Blake as they drove back to Disneytech. "Agreed. We must have offended her somehow." Back at work, Ed resumed working on bug fixes. It wasn't long before Connor arrived. Ed smiled. He walked to the janitor's closet and shut the door. Connor arrived a moment later. "Hello, Connor," said Ed. "I'm sorry about disturbing your lunch, Ed. I wasn't thinking. No worries. Someone in that restaurant reacted badly to your presence, though. I think she was a voodoo princess. They're into spirits. It's part of their beliefs. That explains her reaction. She called me an ungan. That's a male priest. Oh, thank you for sending that poltergeist to me. He loves to cause trouble, and I have a use for his talents. He can cause no end of disruption to enemy agents. You're welcome. I didn't need him bothering me, so I sent him your way. If you get any more poltergeists, send them along. I'll put them to work, Connor said with a smirk. Did you need me to pass on some intel? Asked Ed. No, I was just checking in. Oh, okay. I'll return to work then. Connor floated out through the door. Ed left a moment later and returned to his cubicle. Friday evening, Ed left work. He drove to Ellen's home. The security guard waved him through the main gate and he drove up to the front door. Ellen was waiting for him. So was another car with her security detail. Ed opened the passenger door for Ellen. How gallant, chuckled. I was just being polite. And we're not on a date. Not a date, I told you. Are they your security detail? Asked Ed. They'll follow behind us and keep out of the way unless there's a threat, she said. Very good. Ed got back in the driver's seat and drove off. He didn't make any sudden accelerations or turns, making it easy for them to follow. I have an update on the diamonds. My detectives believe the diamonds were stolen from a shipment some time ago. The original owners got paid off by the insurance, said Ellen. Okay. And another thing, they don't have laser engraving on them. It's hard to prove who owned them. What does that mean? We can sell them and convert them into some other form of investment. Oh, I don't know about that. Don't worry, we can discuss it later. Soon, Ed pulled into the parking lot at the Duwamish Longhouse. He parked next to an empty parking space, and the other car pulled in beside them. Ed exited his car and opened the passenger door for Ellen. She stepped out and talked with her security detail. Ed, they'll wait outside. You might tell your friends not to worry and to ignore them. People walked toward the entrance as before. This time, they welcomed Ed with smiles and waves. He no longer felt out of place. Ed gestured for Ellen to continue. She took his hand and they walked to the entrance. Just inside, Ed met the tribal police officer, Ure. Hello again, Ed, he said. Hello, Ure. This is my friend Ellen. Ure shook Ellen's free hand. She still held on to Ed. Nice to meet you, Ellen. Welcome to the gathering. You know Ed is a hero? I believe that, she said. I just called 911. The paramedics are the heroes. The hospital staff are the heroes, said Ed. Right. Ellen squeezed his hand. Ed left the police officer and walked further inside. Ahote approached the couple. He was the relative of the bear spirit from the last gathering. Ed, hello again, he said. I see you brought a date. Ellen smiled and squeezed his hand again. Ahote, this is Ellen. She's a good friend of mine, said Ed, trying to set the record straight. Ellen, this is Ahote. Ahote took Ellen's free hand. A pleasure. Did he help you too? He saved my life. You must tell me all about it. Of course. Ellen released Ed and wandered off with Ahote. Before he could analyze what had just happened, Panna arrived. Ed, she said. Hello again, Panna. I was at the hospital earlier today. Washta is recovering well. She'll be home soon. That's good news. It's good to know you're looking out for us, Ed. I didn't know. It was Absaroki who fetched me. When I arrived, I called 911, said Ed. You and that crow are quite a team. Come to think about it, your house was closer. He could have called you, and you'd have done the same thing. We'd all be praising you instead. It didn't happen that way. Get used to it, she said. Ed sighed. He couldn't convince anyone it wasn't his doing. A young woman arrived from the kitchen carrying a plate piled up with food and handed it to Ed. "One hero special. I have orders from the kitchen to make sure you eat everything," she said. "Thank you. I don't suppose you'd believe me if I said I wasn't a hero," he said. "No, everyone knows you're a hero already." Ed moved to somewhere he could sit down. The woman sat beside him. "Eat up." Ed sat and ate. He knew better than to argue. Ellen sat talking with Ahote. "The experience you had is what we call spirit walking," said Ahote. "Really? I thought I was a ghost, as in dead." "I met another ghost called Connor," said Ellen. "Yes, that makes sense. And he helped you?" "Connor brought me to meet Ed. He can see ghosts." "That's because he's what we call a medicine man." "And you spoke with Ed?" "Yes. He asked Connor to help me search for my body. We flew over the city until we found it." "That's fascinating. As a spirit you could fly? It must be an amazing experience," asked Ahote. "I thought little about it. I was shocked to discover I wasn't dead, but in a coma." "Eventually you awoke, and Ed rescued you?" "Yes, he's my hero too." I noticed a twinkle in your eyes when I mentioned his name. "Am I so obvious?" she asked. "Only to an experienced tribal elder. Your secret is safe with me. Though I think you should return to Ed. If left alone, someone may have plans to matchmake him." "Oh?" Ellen stood and looked around the long house. When she found Ed, he was sitting and eating with a young lady beside him. Ed ate from his hero special plate. He looked around the longhouse. Lots of people everywhere. Lots going on. Ed wondered where Ellen was. It wasn't a date, but he worried he'd left her alone too long. A moment later, Ellen returned. She took a piece of chicken from his plate. "How are you doing?" he asked. "Fine. I had a talk with Ahote. He said what I did during my coma is something they call spirit walking." "That's interesting, although I think you wouldn't want to be in a coma again." "Some can spirit walk in a trance. Not as bad as a coma. Maybe Ahote can put you in touch with someone who can teach you how." A noise from the entrance disturbed their discussion. Panna approached him. "Ed, we need your help," she said. Ed sighed and put down his plate, about half finished. "Sure, Panna, lead on." Ellen stood and followed Ed and Panna. They arrived at the tribal police officer. "Hooray, what's going on?" asked Ed. "Do you remember a young girl named Abe? She's been abducted." "Abducted?" said Ed. "Yes, on her way here. Witnesses saw a grey van, picked her up," said Hooray. "What have you done so far?" "I issued a bolo on the van. We don't have a license, though." "What's a bolo?" asked Ellen. "That's police talk for be on the lookout. Any grey van in the area will get stopped and searched." "Oh. When Native American women go missing, the public don't put such a priority on it." "I'll get some of my spirit friends to help. Does anyone have a picture of her?" Panna pulled out her phone. "I have several. She's my granddaughter." She shared a picture with Ed. "I have to find my spirit friends. I understand time is of the essence." "Yes, if we want to recover her alive, we must hurry," said the police officer. Ed turned to Ellen. "We have to cut this short. I need to find Connor." "I'm coming with you. Let's go." They wasted no time and walked out to the parking lot. Soon, Ed was approaching police headquarters. "Sometimes they hang out near police headquarters. Hopefully we'll find them there," he said. "I guess you can't call them. The dead don't have phones." "Right." Soon, they arrived at the parkade below police headquarters. Ed, Ellen, and her security detail exited the parkade and walked outside the main entrance. Ed saw a ghost floating up in the air. "Connor, is that you?" said Ed. "I see nothing," said Ellen. Ed turned to Ellen. "Perhaps you should keep your detail distracted." The ghost floated down to Ed. It was Sarah. "Ed, I didn't expect to see you again," she said with a smug expression. "Sarah, I'm sorry about the last time we met. Can we put that aside for now? I need help with an emergency." Sarah changed her expression at once. "What's happened?" "A young girl was abducted. I need all the help to find her before it's too late." "Understood. I'll be a few minutes," she said. Sarah zipped off somewhere. Ed walked over to Ellen. "She's gone to find Connor." "Who has?" "Sarah, the ghost of a former police detective. A serial killer murdered her, and I helped her get justice." "I couldn't see anything. I guess I've lost the ability." "Trust me, you're better off without it." A few minutes later, 3 spectral shapes arrived. They descended to Ed. Ed recognized Sarah, Connor, and the poltergeist. "Connor, what intel have you got for us?" "I have a picture of the girl," he said. He pulled out his phone and showed the picture to them. The poltergeist tried to grab Ed's phone, but he moved his hand away. "Okay, we have her face. What else?" asked Connor. "Abducted on her way to the Duwamish longhouse." Ed provided the address and the description of the van. "Got it. The poltergeist has agreed to help if he can torment the villains who abducted her." "Fine by me. If you get a location, I can pass it on to the tribal police. He won't question the source," said Ed. The poltergeist had a feral grin on his face. "We're on it. I might enroll extra help from other ghosts," said Connor. "Whatever it takes." The 3 ghosts ascended and left. Ed returned to Ellen. "They're gone?" she asked. "Yes, I can take you home now." "Okay, can you share her photo with me?" "Sure, why?" "I have private detectives on retainer. I can put them to work. This is important." By the time they returned to his car, Ellen had the photo. Ed drove Ellen back to her mansion, with her security detail following. He passed the security guard and dropped her at the main entrance. "Would you like a coffee?" she asked. "Maybe once this abduction is over. I need to go home and rest. Connor can find me there if he needs to reach me." "Oh, okay, I'll hold you to that." Ed drove off into the night. Ellen watched until she could no longer see his tail lights. Connor, Sarah, and the poltergeist flew over Seattle. "I need to make a brief stop," said Connor. The 3 ghosts descended and landed in the middle of a large cemetery. It caused a disturbance, and several other ghosts floated over to see them. "Hello, my name is Connor. I urgently need your help. A young girl was abducted today, and we're on our way to find her. I need more ghosts to join the search." "This is a cemetery. We're all dead. Nothing happens here," said another ghost. "Yes, but I offer you the chance to be part of something worthwhile. After, you can return and continue doing nothing." Soon, a horde of ghosts took to the air, led by Connor, Sarah, and the poltergeist. They flew to the area near the Duwamish longhouse. "Sarah, you know what to do. Please take as many ghosts as you can manage and search outwards from here. You're in charge of Group Alpha. If anyone finds the girl, float upwards and wait till we see you." "Will do," she said. Sarah gathered about half the ghosts, and they soon departed. Connor faced the remaining ghosts, including the poltergeist. "We float through buildings and search either for the grey van or the missing girl. Move gradually outwards from this location. Spread out so we cover more area. If you find something, float upwards and wait until we see you." The ghosts did as he said. They zipped through buildings, searching for the grey van or the girl. Connor found he had to spend more time herding them along and less time searching himself. When the poltergeist floated through a building, things would fall off shelves. Chaos was his nature, and tomorrow many residents would discover minor issues. Throughout the night they spread out further and further from the original location. Then Connor saw Sarah fly upward in the distance. She'd found something. Well, that's the end of chapter 15. Next episode we have chapter 16. Connor, Sarah and others help rescue a young girl who was kidnapped. And Ed meets Adam, a dog. See you then.